Charley, welcome to the ExchangeWire kitchen for a coffee with. Lovely to have you.
Thanks for having me over, yeah.
You are very welcome. First off, the traditional question, what coffee are you having today and why?
I'm having a latte. I will take any coffee though.
Fair.
I don't mind how it comes.
No, that's fair enough.
I don't mind how it comes.
Yeah, I'm just on an espresso today. I've gone quite simple, but no, as we were just saying, I've moved to the countryside where there are no good coffee shops anymore. So when I come into London, I'm now on multiple good coffees per day. Double, absolutely, yeah.
It's one of those days.
Absolutely needed. But no, thank you very much. Before we start, just give me a little intro to yourself and what you do at Kite Factory.
I'm Charley. I'm at the Kite Factory. I'm head of insight. I have a couple of hats. So that's my main hat, but I'm a strategy director there, and I co-founded our consultancy business as well. So I've got three hats that I play with, but head of insight is my official one, probably the one I'm most passionate about.
Excellent.
I basically solve problems.
I like that. That's a good overview of
your that's what I do. Somebody's got a problem they don't have time for, a business has a problem they don't have time for, or they don't have the tool for,
Excellent. So three hats, and solving problems is the mega hat.
That's the mega hat.
We'll get into some of that today. I think one of the key things that I wanted to talk to you about is the importance of audience and how, in this world of cheap media metrics and KPIs, that sometimes the audience gets lost. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how you see that and how you really make the audience part of the work you do at Kite Factory. So first off, how do you feel about that?
I love insight. Somebody gave me this amazing advice when I was thinking about my career progression when I was younger, and they were like, imagine when you're happiest and your most joyous moment at work, and what are you doing? And my answer was, I'm sitting with the insight team, or I'm using insight for a brief. So it's one of the reasons why I came to the Kite Factory. I was thinking, what do I do next? I was like, I want to do insight. We try and think of it as audience first. Then once you know your audience, you can think about your objectives, and then your positioning, and then your marketing plan, and then that's when media comes in, and we're always trying to integrate them all. And that's a beautiful thing, right? When you've got your creative agency or your direct response agency or media agency, Kite Factory is a media agency, I probably should say that. Yeah. When you all got everybody together at the beginning, based around an insight, it kind of unites everything and focuses everything, and you can have that through the line and get everything connecting. So that's how we work, and I build audience segmentations, and we focus on basically building audience segmentations or audience insight based around people's values or attitudes rather than the demographics. I turned 45 last year. I'm 46 now, and we had this joke that I was suddenly going to change because I've entered into a different TGI text box.
Exactly.
But you don't, right?
No.
Your values often stay the same, and how you feel about things and your emotions. So we try and view audience like that. I get really passionate about finding good insights. They should feel really smart and obvious at the same time. Why didn't I think of that? When you try and articulate something and you don't quite get there.
Yeah, exactly.
But they offer that kind of clarity. So we're always looking for that nugget of insight that makes everything more interesting.
You've hit on a point there that's made me smile, the idea that as soon as you hit one age bracket, then completely different segment. It comes to us all. We end up shopping in Marks and Spencer's rather than Urban Outfitters. It does happen as you get older, but not quite so directly as on your 45th birthday.
No,
You're
exactly.
all of a sudden somewhere else. But I think that the joy in that you get in those insights and finding out those little audience nuggets, it must make your work very interesting and rewarding.
I go down massive rabbit holes.
Yeah.
That's my job, actually. That's how I view my job. My job is to be interested in things. And I feel like if you're always interested in people and you're always asking good questions, or you're asking somebody to tell a story of something, you'll always get something really unique and really interesting. And that can form your brief, your TV creative. I think it makes you more distinctive. It's a long-term game, I think, with insights. I think back to your original question about there's a lot of pressure to have data-driven metrics. And for me, it's a real balance. And we love big creative ideas at the Kite Factory, but we also like to root it in measurement as well.
Yep.
I think there is there's more pressure, right? It's tough out there, especially in advertising and media, and I think there's a pressure to be focused on the metrics, but I feel like they're a bit like a sugar high. But like insights, probably like, this is a really bad analogy, but I think insights is where the nutrition is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Long term.
Yeah.
And if you take your eye off insights, emotion, storytelling, you're not building your brand for the long term. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it, and it's, you know, like
perhaps I should have said coffee high.
Coffee high.
Coffee high. Your metrics are your coffee high.
That's it, we go on brand. Yeah. The caffeine high of the cheap metrics and the clicks, and I mean, I think it's an easy trap to fall into. The easy metrics, the 1 second views on social media that all count as a view, and you end up with ramped up statistics and planning around that. But I like the idea of this kind of the golden thread you've mentioned, starting with the audience and building rather than making a campaign, going through all the details and then, the audience will like this. You're looking first to get the insights of the people you're really trying to make, trying to reach. Yeah,
and you'll find new people as well. We did a great piece of insight with our creative partners last year on women between 45 and 54, and how this cohort of women don't necessarily feel represented in advertising, marketing or media. But actually there's so many different types of women and audiences within that sort of 9-10 years, and they all get put in one box. Yeah. So I think it helps brands find new audiences and different ways of looking at things. But then it does all the obvious stuff, I think. Right? I think if you can find an insight based on somebody's value, like your human truth, then you will have more recall of your brand, you'll be memorable, you'll have that connection. It drives connection, I think, ultimately. A good insight, you feel connected, and therefore you remember the brand or remember the organisation, and then you can recall it. So it's like a long-term game. Yeah,
it's building that relationship with your audience, and for brands it's important to do that, because we are in the age of online communities. We're in the age of people who define themselves in very specific and very different ways, and they can't all be bundled into an age cohort or that kind of demographic. It needs something a little smarter now I did a coffee with recently talking about why brands should think like creators and why creators should be thinking like brands. And it's about that audience connection. It's about finding that passion in people and bringing it out, and then associating your brand with it. So I suppose you're finding these people for the brands you're working with.
Yeah, and you kind of want people to feel, don't you? You want people to have that kind of gut. When I think of campaigns, and when I look at campaigns, I'm thinking of that reaction, like whether it's your heart rate or the goosebumps. You want that emotional reaction, I think, and I think that's when a brand will stick in somebody's mind or stand out from the rest or make you distinctive and grab people's attention. That's what we want to do, really, kind of get that buzz and that memorability. I think that's what we're all striving for. But ultimately, I think it's just being interested in the weird and wonderful reasons people do things and the way they act, the way they do.
And
it makes it so much more interesting.
It does. I think it comes across. You do have this interest in people, which is nice, and I like that you describe your job as being interested in people, because I do the same. I think that's part of my job as well, is being interested in having these discussions and just having a general interest in how things tick and how things work. So how do you bring that interest and that joy in kind of finding the insights and the niches? How do you bring that to your day-to-day, and how do you advise your clients on that kind of thing?
I think for a lot of the organisations or businesses we work with, I think there's a fundamental way I try and encourage them to think about integrating all their marketing or their advertising and their communications, and try and get people to think of audience insight first. I think that's pretty fundamental, and that can be quite difficult because insight often sits in different teams or different functions, and different organisations, lots of different competing objectives. That's we spend a lot of time, actually, especially on our consultancy side of Kite Factory, Ascend. We spend quite a lot of time unpicking that and try and get people to have an audience focus, and then get like one objective, which is quite a big challenge, and focus everybody in. And that's really nice, actually, when it can align, when you've got this single bit of insight that everybody gets excited about, and the brand agency uses it to create new creative, and then the direct response agency uses it, and then we can find really creative ways of looking at our media. that's what we're kind of trying to always do and show that's possible. So I think that integration piece and the kind of breaking down silos is really, really important. And I think trying to help brands and businesses be unique and show them that audience insight can make you, if you can replace another brand name, even in a bit of content, and you can replace yours with somebody else, it's not right for you, right? You need to go deeper, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't want to sound like everybody else.
No.
Anything can be interesting. I don't care what business it is, there's always a really interesting angle about why people buy things and why people do things and the actions. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. No, and, you know, even if it didn't, I like the answer. So we'll say we had a different question.
But a lot of it is just repeat it, you know, like staying within that construct, and the art of the possible.
Yeah.
And constantly like inspiring people with new ways to look. Because insights, I really feel strongly that insight is absolutely everywhere, and it doesn't really matter about the size of your budget. Small budgets, big budgets, budgets in chaos. Like, you can get it anywhere. I think it's how you view it and what you do with it. It's really interesting, man. I'm kind of fascinated by this idea of what determines your like brand identity and your taste. It's a bit of a tangent, but I think I'm talking a lot at the moment about how AI, you can make anything now, really. But like, how do you choose what you're going to make as a brand, and who decides your taste? And I think insight can do that. It can't give you taste, but it can give you an interesting way of looking at your brand or your creative. Yeah. And I guess with all audience insights, really, I'm thinking of emotions and feelings and values. I'm definitely in that insight space, and that's not to say there isn't insight in data. No. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think, what was my point? I'm rambling now. But I think AI can't do that emotion yet. I don't think it can choose your taste yet, or what makes you unique. I know there's a whole argument that will get there, or be able to replicate it to a certain extent. Yeah. But I think that's our role in advertising or media or marketing. You can choose that emotion, and you can connect with people through that emotion, that audience insight, and you can create your taste, really, your brand identity. Does that make sense? Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's, you know, we're talking about, you know, the rise of AI and how it's, you know, it's making creative instant and quick, and or, you know, we can iterate on stuff faster than ever, but it's despite that, the speed of that and the creativity of that, like, it needs to be underpinned by the kind of insights, the emotions that you're talking about. And they, you know, brands can use it for design, they can use it for a lot of things across the board, but they need to have some direction regarding who the audience is to be able to tailor it and use it to its best. Else we just end up in a world of spray and pray slop that's been scattered across the web. If there's no aim for it, there's no insights behind who the audience are. It's it could. I mean, AI could do terrible things to advertising, but it could also do great things. We're at that precipice. I don't think you can't yet get people in a room having a conversation and talking about why they do things, or why they respond to things, or why they react to things. That nugget of information, I think, definitely. Somebody much smarter than me once told me, as long as you're interested. I always used to get quite nervous when I used to work in another organisation when I had to do content collection or interviewing, and I was like, you don't actually have to worry about it, because as long as you're always interested in the person you're talking to, the interesting stuff will come. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I try, and when we work with business and organisations, that's what I try and bear in mind. Yeah, be interested. Amazing. Well, before we head on down the AI rabbit hole, I'll call it a day there, because that's a whole different conversation. But no, Charley, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. It was very, very interesting to talk to you, and I really appreciate you coming in. So thank you very much for your time. Very quickly. It has. Thanks for my coffee. Thanks for having me. You're very welcome. Thank you so much. No problem.